outskirts of a deserted village, there stood an old house no one dared to approach. Legends said it was cursed. The villagers had heard stories about vengeful spirits and eerie sounds that tore through the silence of the night. The house was called the House of Shadows, and it was known to devour anyone who entered. One day, a stranger named appeared, unaware of the house's dark history. He was brave and didn't believe in superstitions, so he decided to spend a night in the House of Shadows, challenging all the warnings. As approached the house at dusk, he noticed the air around it growing heavier, as if something unseen was suffocating the atmosphere. He opened the creaky door, and the smell of mildew and rot crept into his nose, as if the house hadn't been opened in centuries. He entered cautiously, the darkness swallowing every corner of the place. No sooner had he stepped inside than the door slammed shut behind him with a startling thud, as if the house had locked him in. The faint glow of his flashlight wasn't enough, and strange sounds began to echo, faint whispers slipping into his ears from all directions, though the room was empty. His heartbeat quickened, but he decided to continue his exploration. While wandering through the ground floor, Khalid heard heavy footsteps coming from above, as if something large was walking on the ceiling. He froze, took a deep breath, and headed toward the stairs. Each step on the wooden staircase creaked loudly, breaking the silence, as if warning him of an impending danger. When he reached the upper floor, he found a door tightly shut. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a child crying behind it. The sound was unsettling, and when he tried to open the door, it was locked from the inside. After a moment of hesitation, he heard the door creak open slowly. On the other side, the room was entirely dark, but something was moving in the corner. His eyes couldn't make out what it was. Suddenly, a pale face emerged from the darkness. Its eyes were entirely black, and its body twisted unnaturally. The lights began to flicker randomly, and the closer Khalid got to the door to escape, the darker the room grew, as if the shadows were trapping him. The creature crept closer, its voice whispering incomprehensible things, and its hands reached toward him. Felt a cold hand grasp his shoulder, but he couldn't move. The shadows were pulling him deeper into the room. At that moment, he heard a piercing scream fill the air, followed by the sound of glass shattering and furniture breaking. The darkness grew thicker until it swallowed him completely. The next morning, the villagers found the house's door open, but never emerged. He had left behind his broken flashlight and a torn cloak. No one knew what had happened to him after that night, except that the house grew quieter, and the whispers and cries became louder and more terrifying, as if recording another victory. Since that day, the House of Shadows became a forbidden place, and rumors say that footsteps and the echo of his final scream can still be heard inside.